find yourself in a situation where you have given all hopes in your dreams and your aspirations, we may encounter many defeats, but never be defeated. So, join me, Leonora Jawala, on the inspirational program, My Story, as we bring you stories of people that will motivate you and uplift your spirit. Remember, you're never too old to start a new goal or even dream a new dream. It is normally said that education is better than silver and gold. And yes, that is true. With education, you can be whatsoever you want to become in life and be a better person in the society. Today, it is the story of a professor, a scientist, a Pan-Africanist, and a philanthropist. He is also actually one of the cohort researchers and physicians who personally and professionally help tackle the Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone by trying to develop a vaccine. He is Dr. Alaji Njai. It is a story. Be inspired.
Just following class 2, and I went and sat down. But the good thing is I did very well from class 2, and then I just kept moving on. Came over to DEC primary in Kabbalah at class 5, and things didn't go well. I was very stubborn student, very difficult. Well, not stubborn, but maybe one who wanted to always stand up for what they believe in. And so I was kicked out of school again. And then I went to Colente in the Gambia, and that's where I did my GC O-levels and A-levels in Makeni, and got really good results, both O-levels and A-levels, and then came to Kobe College. And as a
Okay, before we talk about your college days, let's go back to your childhood memories. What's the most challenging experience for you growing up?
I think one of the most challenging was having to get up really early in the morning and having to go and scare monkeys and gorillas from my mom's peanut farm, the granite farm. So my mom had a very large farm, and the idea was, every one of us, you have to get up really early before the monkeys can raid the farm. So that was part of our task in the morning. So you get up about 4 a.m. in the morning, and 5 you are heading down to that farm, and then coming back to get ready and head to school by 8 a.m. in the morning, and then after school having to do the whole thing of being a shepherd too, take the sheep out to the fields. So I think that was one of the most, I would say challenging, but also one of the ones that I felt like I learned a lot, and it prepared me for eventually what my careers in life, because for me, I felt like, growing up in the village, we had no electricity, no water supply, there was no you didn't have TVs, you didn't have any of that, but and books I got by because there were some, either Peace Corps or my dad would actually come to the city and get some, whatever he comes, he gets some books and then brings it over. So it was, in a way, it was challenging.
Growing up in a village where there was no electricity and all that, what motivates you to come out and be the brilliant student that you are today, the brilliant person that you are today?
I think it's largely maybe because of that. There was no electricity, and then it was about reading everything you have. But I think also it was about imagination. Like you are in the village and you keep imagining, what other places look like. And one of the things that struck my mind earlier was the fact that I had read in one of my books that Americans had gone to the moon. And that never ceased to kind of amaze me. So in the village, there was no electricity, but there was the moon. And I kept looking up at the moon if I can see these people who are in the moon. But but also I think the inspiration was just to continue reading, continue like learning really hard, and I would say my elder brother was actually he was more studious, actually more studious and more focused. Me being the younger brother, I was actually just like sort of benefiting from whatever he was reading, and so I would say he motivated me a lot. And what happened was because we had age, maybe like 4 or 5 years of age difference, he was reading materials in class 5, class 6, and I was in the house. I would just stumble on these materials and I was reading these things because we didn't have any other things. There was no light, there was no TV, there was no other things. So this was all things we did, and I think also there was a solid encouragement from our parents. I think one of the things I would say is that my mom and dad never went to school, but they invested so much into our schooling. They valued it, yes. And my dad will always, whenever he visits Kabbalah, he visits the town, he will go to a bookstore and get books, but he didn't even know what the books were. So in essence, we were getting all sorts of books, either advanced, even some of them were college level books, and I didn't know they were college level books until I advanced further in school.
So your experience in the university, you attended the private college.
Yes.
What was that experience for you over the years?
It was a great experience. I came as a second year student. I did my, my sixth form, so I skipped the freshman year in private college.
How?
Because I got very good results at sixth form and in St. Francis, and I came here at second year in the biological sciences. And it was, I think I really liked those periods in private college because it was a period of, activism. We had the military then, the NPRC, the war was going on, but also I got to meet people from all over the country and also other parts of Africa at the time. We had students from Cameroon, Nigeria, the Gambia, and other countries here. And so at the time it was really a very competitive place too. Everybody was competing really, really hard. And so for me, coming from the provinces and coming to Frobe College was a big leap, because that was the first time I actually had been to Freetown in such a big city. It was just, everything was huge.
Oh, you were so excited.
Oh yes, it was exciting, and also very, it took time to kind of settle in, what the Freetown life is and what's the life here on campus. But it was, I learned a lot with the camaraderie, the friends, and the people we made. We stayed here in the dorms, and one of the things that I valued more about Frobe College at the time was that you could stay at the Wisdom Tree. We had the amphitheater and the Wisdom Tree. And me being a science student, I will go down there and you learn from everybody else. So people from law, people from politics, people from history, everybody met at the Wisdom Tree, which is down at Davidson Nicol, by Davidson Nicol Hall. And so everybody met there in the evenings or during the day. And there is a topic, and you just learn whether you are from that discipline or not. So it was really a very good one.
So now let's talk about your career path. You are a scientist, a writer, and why did I let that?
Well, I'm a Pan-Africanist, a scientist, and I literally do everything.
Okay, so now let's start with your being a scientist.
Yeah.
Why science?
So actually, it started back from high school. So when I was in KSS, I wanted to go to the arts, to do like government, law, politics. And the Reverend Father who was there at the time came and said, no, your grades are very good for science. You cannot go to the art stream. You have to go to the science stream. And so I did science. And I've always loved science because I can actually do it, and I've always appreciated, especially the life sciences, biology and chemistry and biomedical medical science. And so I've continued on when I was here in Fabric College, doing a lot of, biology, chemistry, geography, and just everything about nature and science just fascinates me a lot. And so when I continued on to the US to study, I furthered on to do more in depth into more molecular biology, more immunology, get into more biomedical sciences, and I was very lucky to be mentored by really great scientists in the U.S., great professors whom I met, and in very great universities there as well. And I, because of the curiosity I have, because I'm always curious, and for me, science satisfies that. I'm a very curious person. I want to learn stuff. I want to understand how things work and how things operate, and to put pattern in some things. And so science has been sort of that answer for me. It helps me ask.
So, what is your favorite part of being a scientist?
It's doing research, and research that also helps people, helps society. And so over the years in the US, I have done two things that most scientists don't do. I have been in university, done the more intellectual thing, the research, and I've also gone to industry. And in industry, I've been able to work in probably the largest company in the world, developing over 300 products and 300 brands, which almost over 40 $1 billion in revenue for that company. But the one thing that I find fulfilling with that is that I can come to Sierra Leone and walk around the pharmacy and see a product that I helped develop, helping lives and saving lives. And then I can go to the grocery store, to the supermarket, and see a product that we help develop, either it's a cream or a cosmetic, or it's something that can be used for a consumer for different things. So over the years, that has really been the fulfilling part. Like, I can use science to solve social problems and problems in society. And when Ebola struck in 2014, I've been very fortunate to be among scientists, probably the only other African scientist, maybe the only African scientist who's been involved in developing a vaccine against Ebola.
That is one of the reasons we see him as one of the role models here in Sierra Leone. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. And for me, that's the reason you do science. Why I wanted to be a scientist, because as a scientist, you don't think money, you don't think power, you don't think things you get. It's about humanity. It's about solving things and solving challenges. And so when the Ebola struck in Sierra Leone, I said to myself, well, I'm an immunologist, I'm a research scientist, and I've involved in this for so long. I can come to Sierra Leone, and this is my country. And for me, I wanted to take that risk. I had a lot of my colleagues in the US, in company and in the university, who were so scared that I was coming to Sierra Leone, that so many people were dying. And it's also very risky, because I had to come and work directly with Ebola survivors in like PTS-1 in Hastings and at 34 military. And for me, the only thing I told people was that it was okay, if I come to Sierra Leone, and if something happens, I'm in my country, and if if I had to die in Sierra Leone, that means it's in my country. You don't need to fly me out to the US for treatment or something, but I'm here. So for me, it's the passion. That's the passion you have to be back and to be able to solve problems.
How far is the Ebola vaccine project?
So we've actually gone really far on the Ebola vaccine, and it's actually now on clinical trials in the US and in Japan. And hopefully when we can clean out all the safety, all the aspect of it, the efficacy, then the next step, by sometime next year, it will be in Sierra Leone. So at least we have another very good vaccine in the works. So we think that it's because it's targeting the whole Ebola virus, there's a high chance that it can actually be more more better protective of people than the other vaccine candidates that are on the market right now. But also we've expanded our work now, not just Ebola. We are looking at therapies for chikungunya, for Rift Valley fever, for yellow fever, for dengue, for even Zika, and many others. So we are trying to really now say, well, we've learned the lesson from Ebola. Let's move on and try to hunt others before they even come. Yeah.
So what is a typical day for you as a scientist?
So my typical day is very, very busy. So even when I'm in Sierra Leone, I have to deal with so many people globally around the world. So like a typical day today could be like 6 meetings around the world and in Sierra Leone. So I have, so when I was in Procter & Gamble actively in the US, couple months ago or like a year ago, it will be that I have about 6 technical centers that I lead around the world, like in Belgium, in London, in Brazil, and we have Venezuela, and of course Saudi, and then in Germany and stuff. So it's a lot of areas. And then now that I said, well, I want to be in Sierra Leone, I still have to continually provide like consultancy around the world and also towards my university in the US. And now for me, I don't like any part of my time being a little idle. So my mind is always working. And so when I have a free time here, I'm also teaching. I try to teach a class here because it's always been my passion to help younger Sierra Leoneans to come up and to see the opportunities that are there in terms of science, in terms of just career opportunities that are there because for me, I've been fortunate. The last 20 or 20 something years I've been out of the country. I've mostly been in university. I've mostly been in research. I've mostly been in industry. So I've mostly been going from one big thing to the other. And I see so much opportunities for young people, like so much areas. I'm like, every day I'm thinking like, I can do this, but I'm just a human, I can't do everything. So that's why we need to train more people, and that's why I have the passion to be here and help train more young people so they can get into these areas.
Very well. Well, this is the story of Dr. Alaji Njai, and here we go for a break. We shall be back.
Do you find yourself in a situation where you have given all hopes in your dreams and your aspirations?
We may encounter many defeats, but never be defeated. So, join me, Leonora Jawala, on the inspirational program, My Story, as we bring you stories of people that will motivate you and uplift your spirit. Remember, you're never too old to start a new goal or even dream a new dream. Alright, welcome back. This is the story of Dr. Alaji Njai. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
Professor is also a professor actually.
Yes.
Now you're the chief founder and chief strategist of Project 1808.
Yes.
What's the story behind Project 1808 and how is it impacting the lives of Sierra Leoneans?
Yes. When I was in grad school in the US, and it was in the middle of the war, and I was having a very difficult time of how best do I give back to my country and to my community. And so somehow I started saying, well, I can support some students, some young people in Kabbalah, in Penadugu, to go to school. And so I was using my own personal money, so every semester I had a scholarship. So every semester I get like my allowance for the semester, for the whole 3 months. And so I will take half of it and use it to support students here in school. And then that then developed into a full-blown program where in 2011 my some of my colleagues asked me, can we just develop it into an organization? You're already supporting a lot of young people. Can we do this something more structured to it? So in the US, we formed a non-profit organization, and in 2011, I was able to come to Kabbalah and recruit maybe 56 kids to start with, 56 students. And we provided them all like books, uniforms, and free scholarship, free education, I would say. And that then, 2011 to now, we've now been able to now support over 1,000, close to 1,000 students. And now many of them have found their way from to university, to college, either here or in Jala or in Unimark in McKinney. And others are working with us now as an organization. And we've expanded from education into health, into doing STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We are doing wells in the community now. We are making wells for the community. And I have a colleague of mine who is a hydrogeologist who has an organization who is helping with that. And now our ultimate dream that we're working on now is to start a college in that community, which we have almost completed about 3 buildings in Kabbalah to start a model Kwenabibu college that will focus mainly on agribusiness, on public health and environment. So only on what we call One Health. But it will be a model college in the sense that we want to train young people in more experiential education. So more about leadership, more about entrepreneurship, more about hands-on practical things that they can do.
So what has been your greatest achievement in life so far? What can you say?
You know, I'm still struggling. I'm still working. I don't even, because to say I've had a greatest achievement, it means like I've reached my bar. I'm still getting there.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am. I think like I'm working hard every day. I'm studying hard. I'm reading hard.
Well, how do you overcome challenges in life generally?
So I never look at challenges for myself. I've never looked at something as a challenge. I've always looked at it as an opportunity. So whenever I had something that is, people will consider as a challenge, for me it's always like an opportunity. And I always like, okay, I will go and try to confront it. I'm always looking for the solution, how to solve it. So, when I was in school, that's always been the case. And when I was in the US, it's always been when I confront difficult challenges, I look at them, okay, this is an opportunity for me to actually get to this point and do something much more better. And it's the same way I've always looked at, like when I'm in Sierra Leone, I've always like, people will look at it, there's so many challenges around. But for me, it's always been, this is the perfect opportunity to build this, the perfect opportunity to do this. I am Dr. Njai. I'm an associate professor of immunology and toxicology at University of Wisconsin in Madison and also University of Sierra Leone in Freetown. And I am the founder of Project 1808 in Sierra Leone, and this is my story.
So what can you say is your recipe for success?
I think it's hard for me to kind of prescribe any sort of good recipe for success because individuals are different. But I would say that you have to always try to surround yourself with people who are very good and people who push you to maximize your full potential. And if you're a student to me, it's about trying to make sure you are well-rounded, looking at more opportunities. There's aspect of your career, follow your career, but also look at what areas are you passionate about, your passion. And, things about leadership, there has to be, a very strong thing in you, an internal drive. That leadership in you and how you show your leadership. Performance for me is important. Your technical, whatever you do, try to make sure you excel in it. You actually a very, very good person at what you do, and make sure you go above and beyond. Some things about your image and how best you make sure that people can, recall, have that sort of like if something is needed or you come to a place, people can actually say, hey, Alhaji, it can do this thing, something that actually builds your reputation. So an image that actually makes sure that you have a very strong reputation everywhere, that people can actually call on you or refer on you. And I think, to me, I always say the skills of leadership skills of listening very well. It's not that you have to talk a whole lot, but ability to listen, ability to be able to empathize with others, and making sure that you have a sense of empathy. To be highly curious, continue your curiosity, continue to learn. For me, I'm always learning every day. I go from science, I'm learning arts, I'm reading, I'm writing a lot. I write in different subject areas. I love Pan-Africanism, and just having the quest for knowledge, but also I feel imagination. You have to have a very strong sense of imagination. And to me, imagination is even much more stronger, much more better than knowledge, because knowledge is finite. But if you have an imagination, it's infinite, and you are always thinking some things that others aren't thinking. And it's good to be different. And I always tell people it's good to be different. Don't think that if you follow everybody else, what they do, that's the right thing. You can actually be different, and most of the time, the most successful people in the world are people who have chosen to be a bit different from what everybody else is doing, and then take risks. I say we must take some risks. It's always a difficult thing. Sometimes we feel like if you have to take some certain decisions, it is too risky, and we like to be in our comfort zone. But I believe in that if you don't take risks, you don't grow. That nothing is impossible, and it is impossible until it is done. So if are a young person out there, always feel like, you know, that you may feel like sometimes there's despair, there is no hope, there is nothing, but just keep walking, just keep focus, keep dedication, be disciplined and be determined, and make sure you have people you are talking to, other people, and make sure you are shaking hands with the right people and connecting with the right people and networking and making sure your people know what your story is, and and what you are going through. And then I think those are some, for me, the recipe that I've always been, that has helped me a lot, because I have met people, but I've also worked really, really hard, and make sure that, the challenge that I have in front of me doesn't really stop me. But I try to say, what solutions can I develop?
Well, that's how we end the program for today. It has been the story of Dr. Njai, a Sierra Leonean scientist. Hope you all have got inspired with his inspiring story. Till next time, I am Leonora Jawara. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to catch up with me. Stay blessed. Do you find yourself in a situation where you have given all hopes in your dreams and your aspirations? We may encounter many defeats, but never be defeated. So, join me, Leonora Jawara, on the inspirational program, My Story, as we bring you stories of people that will motivate you and uplift your spirit. remember, you're never too old to start a new goal.